Welcome. Today we will read Lesson 55 in the workbook, and from the text we will read Chapter 6, Section 4, The Only Answer, paragraphs 1 through 6. And now for Lesson 55. Today's review includes the following. 21. I am determined to see things differently. What I see now are but signs of disease, disaster, and death. This cannot be what God created for his beloved Son. The very fact that I see such things is proof that I do not understand God. Therefore, I also do not understand his Son. What I see tells me that I do not know who I am. I am determined to see the witnesses to the truth in me, rather than those which show me an illusion of myself. (22) What I see is a form of vengeance. The world I see is hardly the representation of loving thoughts. It is a picture of attack on everything by everything. It is anything but a reflection of the love of God and the love of his Son. It is my own attack thoughts that give rise to this picture. My loving thoughts will save me from this perception of the world and give me the peace God intended me to have. 23. I can escape from this world by giving up attack thoughts. Herein lies salvation, and nowhere else. Without attack thoughts, I could not see a world of attack. As forgiveness allows love to return to my awareness, I will see a world of peace and safety and joy. And it is this I choose to see in place of what I look on now. (24) I do not perceive my own best interest. How could I recognize my own best interest when I do not know who I am? What I think are my best interest would merely bind me closer to the world of illusions. I am willing to follow the guide God has given me to find out what my own best interests are, recognizing that I cannot perceive them by myself. 25. I do not know what anything is for. To me, the purpose of everything is to prove that my illusions about myself are real. It is for this purpose that I attempt to use everyone and everything. It is for this that I believe the world is for. Therefore, I do not recognize its real purpose. The purpose I have given the world has led to a frightening picture of it. Let me open my mind to the world's real purpose by withdrawing the one I have given it and learning the truth about it. Eternity creates only the everlasting. So in seeing the ever-changing, I am not seeing what is true. My attack thoughts are giving rise to a world of death and destruction. I can find a peaceful world by giving up attack thoughts. I do not know what I am, and therefore am not in a position to knowing my best interest. The purposes I have given to things are only to justify false beliefs, and thus are themselves false. Knowing this opens my mind to listening to that which does know the purpose of all things. And now for our text reading for today from Chapter 6, Section 4, The Only Answer, paragraphs 1 through 6. Remember that the Holy Spirit is the answer, not the question. The ego always speaks first. It is capricious and does not mean its maker well. It believes, and correctly, that its maker may withdraw his support from it at any moment. If it meant you well, it would be glad, as the Holy Spirit will be glad when he has brought you home and you no longer need his guidance. The ego does not regard itself as part of you. Herein lies its primary error, the foundation of its whole thought system. When God created you, he made you part of him. That is why attack within the kingdom is impossible. You made the ego without love, and so it does not love you. You could not remain within the kingdom without love. And since the kingdom is love, you believe that you are without it. This enables the ego to regard itself as separate and outside its maker, thus speaking for the part of your mind that believes you are separate and outside the mind of God. The ego then raised the first question that was ever asked, but one it can never answer. That question, "What are you?" was the beginning of doubt. The ego has never answered any questions since, although it has raised a great many. The most inventive activities of the ego have never done more than obscure the question, because you have the answer and the ego is afraid of you. You cannot understand the conflict until you fully understand the basic fact that the ego cannot know anything. The Holy Spirit does not speak first, but he always answers. Everyone has called upon him for help at one time or another, and in one way or another, and has been answered. Since the Holy Spirit answers truly, he answers for all time, which means that everyone has the answer now. The ego cannot hear the Holy Spirit, but it does believe that part of the mind that made it is against it. It interprets this as a justification for attacking its maker. It believes that the best defense is attack, and wants you to believe it. Unless you do believe it, you will not side with it. And the ego feels badly in need of allies, though not of brothers. Perceiving something alien to itself in your mind, the ego turns to the body as its ally, because the body is not part of you. This makes the body the ego's friend. It is an alliance, frankly, based on separation. If you side with this alliance, you will be afraid, because you are siding with an alliance of fear. The ego uses the body to conspire against your mind. And because the ego realizes that its enemy can end them both merely by recognizing they are not part of you, they join in the attack together. This is perhaps the strangest perception of all, if you consider what it really involves. The ego, which is not real, attempts to persuade the mind, which is real, that the mind is the ego's learning device. And further, that the body is more real than the mind is. No one in his right mind could possibly believe this, and no one in his right mind does believe it. Hear then the one answer of the Holy Spirit to all the questions the ego raises. You are a child of God, a priceless part of his kingdom, which he created as part of him. Nothing else exists, and only this is real. You have chosen a sleep in which you have had bad dreams. But the sleep is not real, and God calls you to awake. There will be nothing left of your dream when you hear him, because you will awaken. Your dreams contain many of the ego's symbols, and they have confused you. Yet that was only because you were asleep and did not know. When you wake, you will see the truth around you and in you, and you will no longer believe in dreams because they will have no reality for you. Yet the kingdom and all that you have created there will have great reality for you, because they are beautiful and true. We're told in this section that spirit is the only answer. Ego has no answers, only an endless amount of questioning, because it is incapable of knowing anything. Spirit's purpose is to bring one's true home through its guidance. It has always answered when one has called upon it. Its one answer is for all time and is accessible now. Spirit's answer recognizes that one is an eternal and innocent creation of love, an integral part of all reality, and who has fallen asleep but dreams of things imagined but not true, and who will awaken to know one's inherent truth and the beauty of all of its creations.